It was an ordinary afternoon when the skies over Earth changed forever. A sudden, deafening roar filled the air, and people across the globe stopped in their tracks, gazing upward in disbelief. At first, it seemed like a meteor, a blazing trail of light cutting through the atmosphere. But this was no ordinary celestial object. As the shape grew larger, those with a keen eye realized that this was something else entirely. An alien spacecraft. Massive, sleek, and unfamiliar, the ship hurtled toward the Earth, struggling to maintain control. Its trajectory was erratic, as if it were damaged or malfunctioning, spiraling wildly before crashing into a desolate stretch of land far from any major city. Panic spread like wildfire as the news of the crash reached every corner of the globe. Governments scrambled to respond, deploying military units and scientific teams to the crash site. The world watched as helicopters, tanks, and armored vehicles descended upon the area, forming a perimeter around the enormous vessel. At first, the international response was cautious. No one knew whether the aliens were hostile or peaceful. The ship itself was awe-inspiring, its sleek metallic surface glimmering in the sunlight, bearing no visible damage despite the violent crash. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. As scientists and engineers approached the ship with great care, attempting to decode its advanced technology, they made a startling discovery. The ship was not empty. Inside were 10,000 alien passengers, hailing from a distant star system. The creatures were humanoid in shape, but strikingly different. Their skin had a luminescent quality, shimmering in hues of green and blue under the light. Their eyes were large and dark, revealing an intelligence that felt both familiar and alien. While they bore resemblances to humans, their physical capabilities were far superior. Taller, stronger, and more agile, they exuded an aura of advanced evolution. Initially, the human response was one of cautious compassion. These aliens, who had clearly survived a harrowing journey, appeared to be in a vulnerable state. Many of them were injured or unconscious, and their ship's systems were failing. Humanity, at first, offered help. Medical teams were dispatched, food and supplies were provided, and interpreters were brought in to try and communicate with these extraterrestrial visitors. World leaders delivered speeches, promising peaceful cooperation, the pursuit of knowledge, and an opportunity to learn from one another. However, this initial wave of goodwill was short-lived. As the days passed, and human scientists began to explore the alien ship more thoroughly, the true potential of the alien technology became apparent. The ship's propulsion system was light years ahead of anything Earth had ever developed, and their weapons, discovered deep in the bowels of the ship, were capable of unimaginable destruction. These weapons could vaporize entire cities in an instant, rendering nuclear arsenals obsolete. Governments quickly realized that whoever controlled this technology would hold unparalleled power over the rest of the world. The shift in attitudes was swift. What had once been framed as a humanitarian effort to assist these stranded travelers quickly morphed into a more sinister operation. Governments and corporations alike saw an opportunity not just to learn, but to dominate. The aliens, who had come seeking refuge and perhaps even cooperation, were no longer treated as guests, but as resources to be exploited. Under the guise of national security, the aliens were forcibly relocated to a series of quarantine camps, fenced off from the rest of society. Initially, these camps were presented to the public as necessary measures to ensure the safety of both humans and aliens. Fear-mongering about potential alien diseases or the possibility of alien spies was spread through the media, further justifying their isolation. But the true purpose of these camps was control. By isolating the aliens, humanity could better understand and ultimately seize their technology. Governments scrambled to reverse engineer the alien weapons and propulsion systems, while corporations saw an opportunity to exploit alien biology for commercial gain. Within weeks, the narrative had shifted completely. The aliens, once seen as intelligent and advanced beings worthy of respect, were now portrayed as dangerous invaders. Propaganda flooded the airwaves, dehumanizing the aliens, painting them as threats to Earth's survival. Their difference was used as a weapon to fuel fear and justify their imprisonment. The camps, initially temporary shelters, became permanent internment zones. Armed guards patrolled the perimeters, and drones monitored every movement within. The aliens were not allowed to leave, and any attempt to do so was met with immediate violence. The humans who oversaw the camps grew increasingly authoritarian, implementing harsh rules and subjecting the aliens to degrading treatment. Over time, the true nature of these camps became clear. They were slave labor camps. With their superior physical strength, the aliens were forced into labor. Governments and private corporations began using the aliens for their own ends, putting them to work in construction, mining, and various industries that required brute strength. The aliens, though intelligent, had no choice but to comply. Without their technology, they were defenseless. The weapons they had once carried were now in human hands, and their advanced minds were no match for the sheer brutality of the situation. Some humans went even further, using the aliens' superior biology for profit. The alien slaves became commodities, sold to the highest bidder. A black market for alien labor and alien-derived products quickly developed. Wealthy elites purchased alien slaves to perform personal tasks, and soon alien labor was being used in every sector imaginable. Their regenerative abilities, their resistance to disease, and their sheer physical endurance made them ideal for the most grueling tasks, from hazardous waste disposal to working in extreme climates. Alien workers became a common sight in factories and fields across the world. Their shackled forms, once majestic, were now broken and bent under the weight of human oppression. Despite their advanced minds, they were treated no better than machines. Their suffering was ignored, and any attempts at rebellion were swiftly crushed. Alien children born in the camps were separated from their parents, raised to serve humanity from birth. The aliens who once flew among the stars now toiled in the dirt, slaves to the very species that had welcomed them with open arms. Though not all humans participated in this system of oppression, many turned a blind eye to the injustice. The majority of people, conditioned by the fear-driven propaganda, saw the aliens as a necessary evil, tools to be used for the betterment of humanity. Those who tried to speak out against the enslavement were marginalized, dismissed as traitors or alien sympathizers. The media, controlled by powerful interests, carefully crafted a narrative that painted the alien enslavement as a righteous cause, necessary for Earth's security and prosperity. As time passed, the aliens began to lose hope. Their home was light years away. Their technology had been stripped from them, and any attempts to communicate with their own kind beyond Earth were thwarted. The camps grew more crowded, and the conditions worsened. Disease and malnutrition spread among the alien population, and many died from the harsh treatment and lack of care. Their cries for mercy, for fairness, went unheard. They had become invisible, nothing more than cogs in a vast machine of human greed and exploitation. But not all the aliens were resigned to their fate. In the shadows, some plotted rebellion. Despite their captivity, they had not forgotten who they were. Small groups of aliens began to form underground resistance movements within the camps. They secretly passed messages between camps, gathering information about human technology and weaknesses. Though they had lost much, they still had their intelligence, and they began to devise plans to overthrow their oppressors. It was only a matter of time before the human hubris that had led to their enslavement would come back to haunt them. The aliens had seen the worst of humanity, and now they would bide their time, waiting for the moment to strike back. While humans reveled in their control and power, the seeds of rebellion were quietly growing, and the inevitable conflict would be far more devastating than anyone could have imagined. The humans who oversaw the camps grew increasingly authoritarian, implementing harsh rules and subjecting the aliens to degrading treatment. Over time, the true nature of these camps became clear. They were slave labor camps. With their superior physical strength, the aliens were forced into labor. Governments and private corporations began using the aliens for their own ends, putting them to work in construction, mining, and various industries that required brute strength. The aliens, though intelligent, had no choice but to comply. Without their technology, they were defenseless. The weapons they had once carried were now in human hands, and their advanced minds were no match for the sheer brutality of the situation. Some humans went even further, using the aliens' superior biology for profit. The alien slaves became commodities, sold to the highest bidder. A black market for alien labor and alien-derived products quickly developed. Wealthy elites purchased alien slaves to perform personal tasks, and soon alien labor was being used in every sector imaginable. Their regenerative abilities, their resistance to disease, and their sheer physical endurance made them ideal for the most grueling tasks, from hazardous waste disposal to working in extreme climates. Alien workers became a common sight in factories and fields across the world. Their shackled forms, once majestic, were now broken and bent under the weight of human oppression. Despite their advanced minds, they were treated no better than machines. Their suffering was ignored, and any attempts at rebellion were swiftly crushed. Alien children born in the camps were separated from their parents, raised to serve humanity from birth. The aliens who once flew among the stars now toiled in the dirt, slaves to the very species that had welcomed them with open arms. Though not all humans participated in this system of oppression, many turned a blind eye to the injustice. The majority of people conditioned by the fear-driven propaganda saw the aliens as a necessary evil, tools to be used for the betterment of humanity. Those who tried to speak out against the enslavement were marginalized, dismissed as traitors or alien sympathizers. The media, controlled by powerful interests, carefully crafted a narrative that painted the alien enslavement as a righteous cause, necessary for Earth's security and prosperity. As time passed, the aliens began to lose hope. Their home was light years away. Their technology had been stripped from them, and any attempts to communicate with their own kind beyond Earth were thwarted. The camps grew more crowded, and the conditions worsened. Disease and malnutrition spread among the alien population, and many died from the harsh treatment and lack of care. Their cries for mercy, for fairness, went unheard. They had become invisible, nothing more than cogs in a vast machine of human greed and exploitation. But not all the aliens were resigned to their fate. In the shadows, some plotted rebellion. Despite their captivity, they had not forgotten who they were. Small groups of aliens began to form underground resistance movements within the camps. They secretly passed messages between camps, gathering information about human technology and weaknesses. Though they had lost much, they still had their intelligence, and they began to devise plans to overthrow their oppressors. It was only a matter of time before the human hubris that had led to their enslavement would come back to haunt them. The aliens had seen the worst of humanity, and now they would bide their time, waiting for the moment to strike back. While humans reveled in their control and power, the seeds of rebellion were quietly growing, and the inevitable conflict would be far more devastating than anyone could have imagined. Alex had always despised the aliens. To him, they were nothing more than invaders, creatures who had brought chaos and upheaval into human society. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, Alex had seen firsthand how the world had changed since the alien crash. Jobs became scarcer, and the wealthiest people in society seemed to benefit the most from alien labor. The aliens, though intelligent and advanced, had become the scapegoats for everything wrong in Alex's world. His anger had been simmering for years, and it only intensified as he watched his community struggle while the rich and powerful profited from alien technology. Unlike many others who rallied behind the alien rights movement, Alex didn't care for the arguments of equality or compassion. He saw the aliens as nothing more than tools for exploitation, and he believed that they should have never been allowed on Earth in the first place. In his eyes, the aliens weren't victims. They were a menace. This mindset was ingrained deeply in Alex, and no amount of debate or evidence would convince him otherwise. His younger brother, Sam, was the only person who ever challenged Alex's views. Sam, who had been sick for most of his life, was more open-minded. He'd always been fascinated by the stars and the possibility of life beyond Earth. When the aliens arrived, Sam's first reaction wasn't fear or hatred. It was wonder. While Alex seethed, Sam read books and watched documentaries about the aliens, their culture, and their technology. Though bedridden, Sam's mind wandered the cosmos, imagining a future where humans and aliens coexisted in peace. Alex, on the other hand, viewed his brother's idealism as a naive dream. Life had been hard for Alex and Sam. Their parents had died in a car accident when they were young, leaving Alex to care for his brother. The two of them had scraped by, surviving on Alex's meager wages from a construction job and whatever government aid they could secure. Sam's illness was mysterious and chronic, a debilitating condition that left him weak and bedridden most days. No doctor had ever been able to diagnose it properly, and every treatment they tried had failed. Over the years, Sam's health only worsened, and Alex's frustration grew. The cost of caring for his brother weighed heavily on him, both emotionally and financially. It was during one particularly bad month, when Sam's condition had taken a turn for the worse, that Alex made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. His hatred for the aliens hadn't diminished, but desperation had a way of clouding judgment. One day, as Alex walked past a market that sold alien slaves, he stopped in his tracks. He stared at the alien creatures lined up in cages, their luminescent skin dull in the harsh, artificial light. Most of them looked beaten down, their eyes cast to the floor, their bodies thin from malnutrition. The vendors barked out prices, shouting over the din of the bustling crowd as if they were selling livestock. Alex never thought he would be in this position, but he couldn't help but wonder if an alien could be of use to him. He had heard rumors about their regenerative abilities and their advanced understanding of biology. Maybe, just maybe, one of them could help take care of Sam. Alex pushed the thought away at first, disgusted with himself for even considering it. But as Sam's condition worsened, Alex's resolve weakened. He couldn't afford more medical treatments, and Sam was wasting away before his eyes. If there was even a small chance that an alien could help, wasn't it worth the risk? Swallowing his pride and hatred, Alex returned to the market the next day. His stomach churned as he approached one of the vendors. "I need one that knows something about medicine," Alex said gruffly, refusing to make eye contact with the creatures. The vendor, a greasy man with a permanent sneer, motioned toward a cage near the back of the stall. "That one's a healer," the vendor said. "Used to be some kind of doctor, I think." Knows their way around medicine, for sure. Price is steep, though. Alex narrowed his eyes. How much? After a tense negotiation, Alex walked away with the alien in tow. The creature, humanoid but still undeniably alien, was silent as they left the market. Its greenish-blue skin shimmered faintly in the sunlight, and its dark eyes seemed to take in everything around it. Alex refused to engage with it. His jaw clenched as they made their way back to his small, cramped apartment. He hated that it had come to this. The thought of having an alien in his home, caring for his brother, made his skin crawl. But what other choice did he have? When they arrived at the apartment, Alex shoved the alien toward Sam's room. "You're here to help my brother," he said coldly. "Do your job, and maybe I won't kill you." The alien didn't respond verbally. Instead, it nodded slowly, its expression unreadable. Alex watched with suspicion as the creature entered Sam's room and approached the frail figure lying on the bed. Sam's face lit up with curiosity when he saw the alien, his eyes wide with wonder despite his weak state. "An alien," Sam whispered, his voice barely audible. "I never thought I'd see one up close." Alex folded his arms, standing in the doorway, his posture tense. "Don't get too excited," he muttered. "It's only here to help you, that's all." Over the next few days, the alien worked diligently to care for Sam. It administered medications, monitored his vital signs, and adjusted the treatments based on Sam's responses. To Alex's surprise, Sam began to show signs of improvement. His energy levels increased, and the color returned to his cheeks. But what disturbed Alex most was the bond that seemed to be forming between Sam and the alien. Despite the alien's silence, Sam would talk to it for hours, asking questions about its home planet, its people, and its technology. The alien never responded, but Sam didn't seem to mind. He treated the alien with kindness, offering it food and water, even though it never accepted. One evening, while Alex was out, Sam had a quiet conversation with the alien that would change everything. The alien, who had remained stoic and silent for so long, finally spoke. Its voice was soft, barely above a whisper, but its words were clear. "There is a cure for your illness," the alien said, its dark eyes locked on Sam's. "It is on my ship, hidden deep within its storage compartments. If your brother retrieves it, you will be healed completely." Sam's heart raced. He had always dreamed of a cure, but after years of disappointment, he had given up hope. "Why didn't you tell me this sooner?" Sam asked, his voice trembling with both excitement and fear. "I was waiting," the alien replied, "waiting for the right moment. Your brother, he will not trust me. He hates my kind." Sam nodded sadly. "He's not a bad person, but he's angry. He's been through a lot." The alien tilted its head slightly, its expression thoughtful. "I understand," it said, "but if you want to live, you must convince him to retrieve the cure." When Alex returned home that night, Sam wasted no time in telling him about the alien's revelation. At first, Alex was furious, accusing the alien of manipulation and deceit. He grabbed the creature by its collar and slammed it against the wall, his fists clenched in rage. "You expect me to believe that?" Alex spat, his face inches from the alien's. "You've been lying this whole time, haven't you?" The alien, calm as ever, merely stared back at Alex with those inscrutable dark eyes. "I have no reason to lie," it said quietly. "If your brother dies, I die too. I want him to live." Alex's anger didn't subside, but Sam's pleading voice finally broke through his rage. "Please, Alex," Sam begged, his voice weak but determined. "Just get the cure. If there's even a chance, you have to try." Reluctantly, Alex agreed. The next morning, he set out for the crash site, where the remnants of the alien ship were still under heavy guard. He had no idea how he was going to get inside, but he knew one thing. If the alien was lying, he would make it pay dearly. After hours of sneaking and bribing his way past guards and security checkpoints, Alex finally found the hidden compartment where the alien had said the cure was stored. To his shock, the alien hadn't lied. Inside the compartment was a small, shimmering vial filled with a glowing liquid. The label was written in an alien script Alex couldn't understand, but he knew this had to be the cure. He returned home, vial in hand, and immediately gave it to the alien. The creature prepared the cure and administered it to Sam, who drank it with a hopeful smile. Days passed, and to Alex's astonishment, Sam's health improved dramatically. The cure had worked, but as the days turned into weeks, something strange began to happen. Sam's body was changing, subtly at first. His skin took on a faint luminescence, and his eyes grew darker. It wasn't long before Alex realized the truth. The cure had begun to transform his brother into something else, something alien. At first, the cure seemed like a miracle. Sam's health had improved so dramatically after taking the alien's medicine that Alex could hardly believe his eyes. The color had returned to Sam's pale skin, his once gaunt face filling out with life. He moved around the apartment with energy he hadn't had in years, talking and laughing with a vigor Alex had almost forgotten. It felt like a dream, like a reprieve from the endless spiral of sickness and suffering that had defined their lives for so long. For the first time in what felt like forever, Alex allowed himself to hope that things could get better, that they could have a normal life again, where Sam could live free from the chains of his illness. But beneath that hope, a flicker of doubt gnawed at Alex's mind. The alien's words about the cure had echoed in his thoughts since that night. It will heal him completely. The transformation had begun so subtly that Alex hadn't noticed at first, but soon subtle became impossible to ignore. It started with small changes. Sam's skin, once pale and sickly, had become vibrant and healthy, almost too healthy. It was as though his body had taken on an otherworldly glow, his complexion unnaturally smooth, his scars from past treatments disappearing without a trace. Alex initially dismissed it as part of the healing process, convincing himself that the alien's advanced technology was simply doing its job. But when Sam's eyes began to change, Alex could no longer ignore the signs. Sam's eyes, once a light brown, had darkened, taking on the same deep black hue as the alien's. The change was gradual at first, barely noticeable in the dim light of their apartment. But as the days passed, Alex could see the transformation more clearly. His brother's pupils expanded, swallowing the irises until there was nothing left but two black orbs staring back at him. Sam seemed unaware of the shift, or, if he did notice, he didn't say anything. He carried on as if everything was fine, talking excitedly about their future now that he was well. But Alex couldn't shake the growing sense of dread that filled his chest whenever he looked at Sam. One morning, Alex woke up to find Sam standing by the window, staring out at the sky. It wasn't unusual for Sam to be up early these days. His newfound energy often left him restless, eager to start the day. But this time, something was different. Sam wasn't just looking at the sky, he was fixated on it, his face expressionless, his black eyes unblinking. "Sam?" Alex called out, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. Sam didn't respond. He remained motionless, his gaze locked on the distant horizon. "Sam!" Alex's voice grew louder as he approached his brother, concern twisting his stomach into knots. He placed a hand on Sam's shoulder, giving him a gentle shake. "Hey, you okay?" Finally, Sam blinked, his expression softening, as if he had just been pulled out of a trance. He turned to face Alex, a faint smile on his lips. "I'm fine," he said, his voice calm. "I was just thinking." "Thinking about what?" Alex asked, his brow furrowing. Sam hesitated for a moment, then shrugged. "The stars, I guess. I was wondering what it must be like up there, so far away from all this." Alex's unease deepened. Sam had always been fascinated by space, but there was something unsettling about the way he spoke now. It was as if he wasn't just curious. He was yearning for something beyond the confines of their world. Alex forced a smile, trying to shake off the unease. "Well, we're stuck here, buddy," he said, his tone light. "No stargazing for us." Sam chuckled softly, but the sound was hollow. "Yeah, I guess you're right." As the days passed, the changes in Sam became more pronounced. His strength had increased to an almost unnatural degree. Alex first noticed it when Sam accidentally crushed a glass while pouring water. The shards had cut into Sam's hand, but instead of bleeding, the wounds sealed themselves within seconds, the skin knitting back together with a faint shimmer. Alex had stared in horror, but Sam had simply laughed it off, calling it a perk of the cure. But it wasn't just Sam's physical abilities that were changing. His personality, too, began to shift in ways that disturbed Alex deeply. Sam, once kind and gentle, had grown distant and cold. He no longer spoke about their future or the life he had once dreamed of. Instead, he spent long hours alone, sitting in silence or staring out the window, his mind seemingly elsewhere. When Alex tried to engage him in conversation, Sam's responses were clipped, almost robotic. There was a hardness in his voice that hadn't been there before, a callousness that made Alex feel as though he were speaking to a stranger. The alien, still kept under close watch in the apartment, offered no explanation for Sam's changes. It had resumed its silent, obedient demeanor, tending to Sam's needs when necessary, but never speaking unless spoken to. Alex, who had grown increasingly suspicious of the alien, began interrogating it more frequently, demanding answers. "What did you do to him?" Alex snarled one night, grabbing the alien by the collar and shoving it against the wall. "You said the cure would heal him, not turn him into this." The alien's dark eyes met Alex's with calm detachment. "The cure is working as intended," it said softly. "Your brother's body is adapting to the changes." "Adapting?" Alex spat, his grip tightening. "You mean transforming him into one of you, don't you?" The alien didn't flinch. "Your brother's illness was beyond human understanding. The cure is more than just medicine. It's a biological integration. His body is evolving to survive." "Survive?" Alex repeated, his voice rising with disbelief. "By turning him into a freak?" The alien's gaze remained steady. "He is not turning into a freak. He is becoming stronger, healthier. He will live." Alex released the alien, his hands trembling with a mix of rage and fear. He had thought that the cure would give Sam his life back, but instead, it seemed to be taking something far more precious from him: his humanity. The breaking point came when Sam's transformation accelerated. His once human features became more alien with each passing day. His skin, now tinged with a faint luminescence, took on a smooth, almost metallic sheen. His fingers elongated, the nails turning into sharp, claw-like appendages. And his eyes, those black, unblinking eyes, haunted Alex in his sleep. One night, Alex woke to the sound of movement in the apartment. Groggy and disoriented, he stumbled out of bed, his heart racing as he followed the noise. He found Sam standing in the living room, his back to Alex, his posture tense and rigid. "Sam?" Alex called out. his voice shaky. Sam didn't respond. As Alex approached, he noticed something glinting in Sam's hand. It was a knife, the blade reflecting the dim light of the room. Fear surged through Alex's veins as he reached out cautiously. "What are you doing, Sam?" Slowly, Sam turned to face his brother, and Alex's breath caught in his throat. Sam's face was barely recognizable. His features had shifted, his nose flattened, and his once full lips thinned into a tight line. His black eyes gleamed in the darkness, devoid of the warmth and kindness Alex had once known. "I'm sorry, Alex," Sam said, his voice cold and distant, "but I'm not your brother anymore." Before Alex could react, Sam raised the knife and plunged it into his own arm. Alex shouted in horror, rushing forward to stop him, but Sam held up a hand to keep him at bay. To Alex's shock, the wound sealed itself almost instantly, the skin regenerating with a faint shimmer. "I'm not human," Sam said quietly, his voice tinged with sadness. "Not anymore." Alex's heart pounded in his chest as he stared at the creature that had once been his brother. He wanted to scream, to rage, to do something, anything, to fix what had happened. But all he could do was stand there, frozen in disbelief and fear. For the first time since Sam had taken the cure, Alex truly understood the depth of the alien's words. This wasn't just a treatment. It was a transformation. The cure hadn't healed Sam. It had changed him, reshaped him into something unrecognizable. And now, Alex was left with the horrifying realization that his brother was gone, replaced by a being he didn't understand. But the consequences didn't stop there. As the days passed, Sam's behavior grew increasingly erratic. He became more aggressive, more volatile. His once docile nature had been replaced by a cold, calculating intelligence, and he seemed to relish in his newfound power. He no longer needed the alien's assistance. In fact, he began to treat it as little more than a slave, ordering it around with cruel indifference. Alex watched helplessly as Sam slipped further and further away from him, the brother he had once loved disappearing into the alien creature he had become. And as much as it pained him, Alex knew that he had to act before it was too late. But could he bring himself to stop the brother he had fought so hard to save? The alien's betrayal was inevitable, though Alex hadn't seen it coming. In his desperation to cure Sam, he had placed all his trust in the alien's promises. The cure had worked, perhaps too well, and now Sam was no longer the person he had been. In fact, he wasn't a person at all. The creeping transformation had slowly taken over his body and mind, altering him until Alex could no longer recognize the brother he had loved and cared for all these years. And as much as it pained Alex to admit it, Sam was slipping further into something monstrous, something alien. It began with small acts of defiance. Sam had always been soft-spoken, rarely challenging Alex, but after the cure, something had changed in him. He no longer seemed grateful for the life he had been given. Instead, Sam started questioning Alex's decisions, speaking out of turn, and eventually disregarding his brother's authority altogether. Alex tried to reason with him, but Sam's responses grew colder, his once warm personality receding behind an increasingly alien demeanor. The alien, the one Alex had originally bought as a caretaker, watched silently as the rift between the brothers widened. It said nothing but seemed to be waiting, biding its time. Alex, focused on Sam, didn't realize just how closely the alien was observing them. Only later would he understand that the alien had been plotting all along, patiently waiting for its opportunity to strike. As Sam's physical transformation accelerated, so too did his alien-like behavior. His eyes were now completely black, devoid of any human warmth, His skin shimmered with an ethereal glow, almost as though it were rejecting its former human softness and embracing something more resilient, more foreign. His limbs elongated, his fingers grew into long clawed appendages, and his strength, once a gift, had become terrifying. There was no denying it anymore. Sam wasn't just changing into an alien. He was an alien now. In those early days, Alex had hoped that Sam's transformation could somehow be reversed. He still had the cure, the same vial that had initially healed his brother, and wondered whether another dose might fix whatever had gone wrong. But the more he thought about it, the more uncertain he became. The alien had been vague about the details, always speaking in cryptic, evasive terms. Would another dose make things worse? Was there any hope left at all? As Alex wrestled with these questions, Sam's behavior grew more erratic, more menacing. He began talking in strange, guttural tones, sometimes speaking languages Alex didn't understand. Alien languages, no doubt. Worse, Sam started disappearing for long stretches of time. Alex would find him standing in dark corners, murmuring to himself, or sometimes pacing the length of their apartment, as though trapped in some kind of invisible cage. One night, Sam vanished entirely. He didn't return until the early hours of the morning, his face and hands covered in a strange, viscous liquid. When Alex confronted him, demanding to know where he had been, Sam simply smirked and said, "I've been preparing." "Preparing for what?" Alex had shouted, his frustration boiling over. "What the hell is happening to you, Sam?" For a moment, the coldness in Sam's eyes softened, and Alex thought he saw a glimmer of the brother he used to know. But then it was gone, replaced by an expression of chilling indifference. "Soon you'll understand," Sam said cryptically, before disappearing into his room, leaving Alex alone in the hallway, confused and afraid. It wasn't long after that when Alex's worst fears came to life. One evening, after returning home from a long day of trying to find answers, researching anything he could about alien biology, cures, and whether there might be any hope left, he walked into the apartment to find the alien standing over Sam, whispering in his ear. Sam's face was twisted into a cruel smile, a far cry from the boyish grin Alex had known for so long. And the alien, it wasn't just whispering. It was controlling him, its dark eyes gleaming with some unseen power. Alex's heart sank as he realized the truth. The alien hadn't been their servant. It had been their captor all along. The betrayal hit Alex like a punch to the gut. He had always suspected that something was off, but he had never imagined that the alien had been manipulating them from the start. In his desperation to save Sam, Alex had unwittingly allowed the alien to take control, to enslave his brother's mind and body. Now, it was too late. Sam was no longer his own person. He was a puppet, and the alien was pulling the strings. Furious, Alex lunged at the alien, grabbing it by the throat and slamming it against the wall. "What have you done to him?" he screamed, his voice raw with anguish. The alien didn't resist. It simply smiled, its black eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "He belongs to us now," it said softly, its voice dripping with malice. "He's one of us." Alex's hands shook with rage, but he knew violence wouldn't solve anything. He released the alien, shoving it away in disgust, and turned to face Sam. "Sam," he pleaded, his voice cracking, "you don't have to do this. You're still my brother. You can fight this. We can find a way to fix it." But Sam's eyes, those once familiar brown eyes that had now turned jet black, stared back at him with no recognition. The brother Alex had known was gone, replaced by something cold and alien. "I'm not your brother anymore," Sam said, his voice devoid of emotion. "I belong to them." Those words shattered whatever hope Alex had left. He had always feared that the cure might have unintended consequences, but he had never imagined it would come to this. Sam had been taken from him, not by the illness that had ravaged his body, but by the alien who had promised to heal him. Desperation turned into determination. Alex couldn't let things end this way. He wouldn't give up on Sam? Not yet. There was still one option left, one last chance to undo the damage that had been done. The cure, the same vial that had transformed Sam, could also reverse the process. Or at least, that's what Alex hoped. If he could get his hands on it, maybe, just maybe, he could bring Sam back. But it wouldn't be easy. The alien had become more protective of Sam in recent days, hovering over him like a dark shadow, watching Alex's every move. One night, while the alien was distracted, Alex crept into the bathroom where he had hidden the vial. His hand shook as he uncapped it, staring down at the shimmering liquid inside. This was it, his last chance to save his brother. He waited until Sam was asleep, slipping into his room with the vial in hand. Sam lay still, his alien features illuminated by the faint moonlight streaming through the window. Alex hesitated for a moment, doubt gnawing at his mind. What if the cure didn't work? What if it made things worse? But then he thought of the brother he had once known, the boy who had grown up beside him, laughing and playing in the fields behind their house. The boy who had suffered so much, who had fought so hard to stay alive. Alex couldn't let that boy disappear forever. With a deep breath, Alex injected the vial into Sam's arm. The liquid shimmered as it entered his bloodstream, and for a moment, nothing happened. Alex's heart raced, fear clawing at his chest. Had it failed? Was it too late? Then, slowly, Sam's body began to convulse. His skin rippled as though something beneath the surface was trying to break free. His limbs twitched, and his eyes shot open, wide with pain. Alex watched in horror as Sam's features contorted, his alien form struggling against the effects of the cure. "Sam!" Alex shouted, grabbing his brother's hand. "You can fight this! I know you can!" But Sam's screams filled the room, a guttural, inhuman sound that chilled Alex to the bone. His body writhed on the bed, his skin glowing brighter and brighter until it was almost blinding. Alex shielded his eyes, terrified of what might happen next. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, the convulsions stopped. Silence filled the room. Alex slowly lowered his arm, blinking against the fading light. He stared at the figure lying on the bed, his heart pounding in his chest. Sam lay still, his chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. His alien features were gone, replaced by the familiar face Alex had known all his life. His brown eyes, his human eyes, fluttered open, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Sam looked up at his brother with recognition. "Alex," Sam whispered, his voice weak but undeniably human. Alex's heart soared with relief. He had done it. He had saved his brother. But the relief was short-lived. As Sam's eyes focused on Alex, a shadow of pain crossed his face. You shouldn't have done that," he whispered, his voice trembling. "What do you mean?" Alex asked, confusion washing over him. "I saved you, Sam. You're human again." Sam shook his head, tears welling in his eyes. "No, Alex, I can never go back. Not after everything I've done." Before Alex could respond, Sam's body began to convulse again. But this time, it wasn't the alien transformation taking hold. It was something far worse. His skin paled, his breath grew shallow, and his body went limp in Alex's arms. "No," Alex whispered, his voice breaking. "No, Sam. Please. Not like this." But it was too late. The cure had come too late. Sam had been too far gone, and now, in trying to save him, Alex had lost him forever. The alien stood in the doorway, watching with cold indifference as Alex cradled his brother's lifeless body.